So me working on a little bit more mounting. I brought out my stationary target. I really want him to use that start button. I want him to touch the cone. Then I'll go ahead and go up on the mounting block and then go ahead and mount. So, but I don't do anything until he touches that start button. So I'm just going to get it in the correct position. Desensitizing here, so we're kind of breaking it up here or building it up till I can put my leg over his back. So you've seen the process here. Did a lot of work from the mounting block, did a lot of work leaning over him, and then had my kind of knee bent and set on his back, then a little bit further until I could get my leg all the way over. Also worked on jumping off, and I'm reinforcing for every time I'm doing that as well. So same kind of thing. Now I'm to the point where I can just kind of slide all the way over. If he wants to target my leg on the other side of this body, that's totally fine. He doesn't have to. If they're kind of looking at it, I'll kind of make it into a target so he's not afraid of it, but it's not a necessity that he has to do every single time. And again, I am reinforcing every time I jump off of him. That is a very important one. Right now, it's just like a little baby step, like I kind of swing off and then jump from that bottom step. Eventually, I want to jump from the top step and just kind of be faster and faster with it so that when I am on him and I have to get off fast, I can just slide right off and jump off and it's not a big deal. So again, we're building up to that. And I'm reinforcing every time. So it's just like not a big deal at all that I jump off, and sometimes it's kind of clunky and I'm not perfect, and sometimes my boot hits him, and sometimes I make a lot of noise or a lot of movement, and that's just kind of part of being mounted. And so if I start that from the beginning, he will never know any different. He's like, oh yeah, when she sits on my back, sometimes it's loud, and that's just what happens, and I get reinforced, and it's awesome. So it's not, I'm sneaking around, I'm doing it perfect, and then one day when I eventually am going to kind of hit him with my boot or I get off really quick, then he gets scared. I don't want that. So this is why I'm doing all these other things. So specifically with him too, he's very sensitive, wild Mustang. I need to have all of these pieces working properly. So I'm still at the point where I'm just for a second getting that leg over, and just while I'm over, I'm kind of now bringing kind of my seat onto his back. So I kind of started with just my leg, and now I'm kind of moving to where I'm like sitting on his back just a little bit. All of my weight is still on the mounting block and all in my left leg, but I just want to work on kind of him feeling my weight a little bit, seeing me right above him, out of both eyes, things like that. So that's kind of what we're working on here, just a second at a time. And I am clicking as I'm kind of sitting down on his back, and then I jump off and then I feed him. And I do want to make sure that I mix up feeding him after I jump off and then feeding him from the mounting block so that he gets used to being fed in a position where I would feed him from his back. So from right now, I'm standing on the mounting block and he turns his head left or right and he gets to reward it. So I just combined two videos together because it was the same thing, so we're not watching two separate videos. So it is important that he gets mounted from both sides in the beginning, especially. Later on, I'll just kind of transition to just probably getting on from the left side. I might get on from the right occasionally. I'll probably jump off from the right more often than getting on from the right because I'm just not very graceful when it comes to that. But especially now, I want to make sure that he's totally comfortable with mounting and dismounting from both sides. So again, we've got our start button. This time I've whipped out my helmet, so that's a good thing. I should have it at all times, just in case, especially with the mounting block, because I could fall off and hit the mounting block, so that's important. So now I'm just kind of staying on for a little bit longer, about 2 seconds, and then I'm jumping off a little bit more than I did in the last video, so kind of from the top, a little bit faster than before, so just kind of making it a little bit more difficult. So 1, 2, I'm gonna click, and then jump off. And that's gonna be a little bit more realistic, like as me jumping off from his back than I was in the last video, or the first part of this video, where I kind of stepped down and then jumped off. But that was just the beginning parts, doing everything in phases and then building it up. And then same thing with the sitting on him for a little bit longer, we're just building up that amount of time that he's okay with me sitting on him. So we're gonna go ahead and do the same thing from the other side. I just ask him to follow my hand target. I move his stationary target to this other side. He already knows about the mounting block. He knows how to line up at it. And same thing. I'm just going to reinforce him for touching that because I want to make sure that's still very reinforcing for him. I probably should have let him touch that target again before I went ahead and hopped up there. There he's touching it. I'm going to go ahead and get on. 1, 2, click, and then pop off, and then feed him. So that's kind of the little routine that we have going on. So there he's going to touch the target, and I'm going to hop on. Couple seconds, click, and then jump off. Perfect. And then we'll just, every session or every like a couple times during the session, kind of depends on the horse and where we're at, I'll just increase. So I'll sit on him for 3 seconds, and then 4 seconds, and 5 seconds. And every horse is different, and it's going to depend on kind of how confident they are. But that's the process.